browse for fashion. I'm gonna look around the classroom first.
Like, suddenly grow a
NBA player that's going to be known as the unibrow for his entire career. Who's that? Anthony Davis. National championship. Yeah. Okay, real quick, with the people we have here, we're going to start showing you.
Hey, it's Nate from Design Squad. We have an awesome new feature on the website. It's called Build It Better. We're challenging you to design improvements to things that you see and use every day. For 1 month, we'll be giving you 3 Build It Better challenges. We'll also give you some photos with each challenge. Now you can use the Sketch on Sketch tool to sketch your design improvements right there on the photo to show us how you would make the original into something better. The Build It Better challenges are fashion. Design clothes that can work in any weather. School. Design school supplies that work better. And bedroom. Design an improvement for your bedroom. Now I'm going to choose bedroom. I think I'm going to choose the alarm clock. Rather than have the alarm clock beep to wake me up like usual, I think it would be cool if it dumped a bucket of water on my head. This is for really important meetings or when I have to wake up really early for an airplane flight. It's a surefire way to wake me up, let me tell you. I'm going to call it Tick Tick Splash. We'll post your designs on the website, and kids can use stickers to vote for their favorites. Daisy and I will also put our top picks up on the website. And at the end of the month, the designs with the most votes, plus a few that Daisy and I choose, will get special virtual stickers that you can use on the website. So check it out and see if you can build it better.
Ben, can you grab the lights, the dark ones here? There we go. And then you can have one of those seats if you want.
I'll move over there. Molly might be.
Okay.
That way we can sit
Oh, there you go. Great. Okay. That'll work perfect. Okay. Wax, did not pick it, and then Molly's. Yeah. Okay, great. Oh, I need mine. So, Paul found that video, which I guess is something new that Design Squad, so I had to check their listings to see how new it is. But does anything look familiar from some of the things we've talked about for this class?
Make it better.
Stole or build it better.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Copyright
Build it better. Definitely seems pretty similar. You don't have to make it good, make it better on the shirt. That's for year 2. Take a white Sharpie and just write it on the back.
You know, technically, you take this course more than once, the way it's written. So, not sure that this is what you want to do next fall, but maybe some of you, is anyone who's graduating? No one's graduating. Oh, you're graduating?
Ben, that's right.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so thanks for coming today. Honestly, when we get through things, we don't have to stay until 5:30. Okay? But I'd like us to be able to talk about some of the things that we're moving forward and what we're doing. Sorry, Roland, I didn't get you the email soon enough about the materials.
That's okay.
You didn't get it at all? It was BCC, so you could check and see whether or not I sent it to him anyways, so. All right, well, I wonder how many other ones I haven't sent to him.
I didn't get an email either. It's just
I forgot to copy it to the BCC list. So I just sent it to me, Howard, and Paul.
Don't bring your
Look how many people did it. So, you know, the mental message must have made it through. All right. So, from Monday, let's share to the group what your design project was and how it went. Joan, you have to get going soon, right? so you and Ben, why don't you guys share which your design project was and how it went?
Yeah, so, don't remember the plastic box they had. So the top there was a hole in it, and so inside of the box I put some cups, some solo cups, and just a piece of cardboard. And the red cups were cancer cells, and the blue cups were healthy cells. And so we could dump ping pong balls into the top, and try to get the ping pong balls into the cancer cells, and not the healthy cells. So they had to make a way to like direct them the right
Some kind of
places.
delivery system.
Yeah. basically.
So we had three different setups, so three different combinations of red cups and blue cups, because we thought that underestimated.
We thought it was easier than it really was.
Yeah, for them. I mean, the difficulty, I guess, was probably the most difficult, but I think we overestimated like how difficult it was for them, because it was building up. So the students never got to the other two combinations.
They all had like some degree of success, like.
Yeah, that's true. It's just, and also there were more kids, like twice as more kids than we were used to. So I think what happened was that because we had such a small number of kids before, we were able to give them more attention, help them out, so things went faster. So I guess our perception, our judgment on what good timing was off, because there's twice as more kids, and so we couldn't help out as much for some kids, so things were going slower. And so, I guess, if we had always gone 10 kids, maybe we would have thought differently about having very different test setups, but yeah, the one that they were working on went well, and I think we succeeded, and didn't finish. And then also, I guess since it was just kind of like, we told them, this is going to be our last one, so they were even more, like, just,
But it held off on games.
That's
yeah.
great. How do you think things could have been improved from Monday?
I think our presentation actually could have improved. I think we were so focused on the challenge itself that we actually never got a chance to talk about how we're going to really deliver, like how we're going to show them this challenge. I don't know how much of a difference it would make, but it would probably just look cleaner / just nice to have both of us engaged, and then also I'm not sure.
How do you think it could be improved then?
I don't know, I think for the first like 10, 15 minutes, I think the hard part that you had dealing with is like how are they gonna like put it on top of the box. And so I think just something about the setup would have been a lot better.
Refinement,
Yeah.
polishing it.
Yeah, so the first like couple times we go to each week's view, like so we guys thinking we'd be doing this and we'd be like, okay, how are you gonna put it on there? And I'd be like, I don't know how you're gonna put it on there. Yeah.
I don't think it was like, it wasn't right away like noticeable for them to see how it was gonna work. All we had to do with our presentation, combination of the presentation, and also just the way it looked. Grass.
Because it was clear. It was something that they kind of thought of structural parts.
Yeah.
So they spent more time adapting their solution to the test setup than maybe their solution itself? Is that what you're saying or not?
Yeah, like the first like half-ish is kind of like, it put it up there and I underestimated how much like just dumping people also like how to just like fall into the box. So, eventually I was like, okay, let's just tape it up here. And like, so that works, but just after 10, 15 minutes, that was, just the time. From there, it's kind of, this isn't working because of why, how can we fix this? Type of thing.
Okay, let's keep this going. Natalie and Randall, why don't you guys talk about your Monday?
So we did a design challenge for my lab, and the microscope we used is this thing called FRET. So when you, it's a microscope with a laser on it, and you excites particles, and based on the difference between the distance between the two particles, it'll emit a certain wavelength of light, a different color, based on how far apart they are. So we were kind of taking this concept of measuring things with lasers, and had a test set up with 2 mirrors like this, and they were sitting a couple rows they had like a little bit of a curve to them, and they probably weren't, I know that they weren't exactly at 45. And so, and I thought this was something that they could kind of adapt to, but it was like, they shot it the first time, they didn't get it, and we're like, and then just kind of started playing with the laser pointers. So, we had a tough time kind of keeping them focused on it.
Random.
Yeah, like playing with lasers. They don't like using them for the product though.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So what were they designing? What was the?
Something to hold the laser pointer and something to catch like the light so that they can measure it.
What would you guys maybe think about or consider for the future, even if it was like massive changes?
I think presentation went well, they understood it, they found it interesting. But I guess refinement in in the setup itself. I thought it was something like, oh, okay, they can figure out, they just have it at an angle, and they couldn't visualize it. So,
Right.
I'm interested in that.
Also working with lasers, it was a tough.
Yeah, I don't know how, because if we didn't give them the laser, there was no way they would ever figure it out. So I don't know how we would fix that.
It's a tough one, but it was a good challenge, and so you guys still worked pretty hard on it.
Each group had their own laser.
We had 3 groups.
Jack and Shayla, why don't you guys talk about your Monday?
Yeah. So we kind of changed the design a little bit last minute, and got in there. Our design was for the kids to build a safe. So that was using short circuit, so that when they closed their, we gave them all the boxes that were keeping some of our materials in, the little ones that look like that, and they there's a circuit board taped down to the bottom, and then we made a simple circuit kind of for them and led them through the process of making a simple circuit, and then talking about short circuits. And the idea was that they had to short the circuit out so that the buzzer and lights on the inside would shut off when they closed the box, but start going crazy when they opened the box up. It's a little bit hard to imagine maybe, but we gave a decent explanation at least when we were trying to do it with them. And we got some one-on-one time. We only had 4 kids, so it was really easy to kind of get in there and talk it out with them, which was lucky because
What are you guys working about, Roland?
Well, we always have to.
You always have work. Okay,
It's
keep
really
going.
nice.
It would have been really challenging to fit anymore, I think, because we each took a group and were there the entire time, just kind of like, so does this work? Does that work? What if we tried this? And just the whole time. But they got through it, and they both got successful designs that were different for each other. I didn't know how open-ended the design challenge would be. We kind of talked about this, because me and Andrew were kind of playing this one out the day before or the day of, and it didn't seem like it was going to be particularly open-ended to me, but they each came up with their own unique design, which was really nice. So that was cool.
Did you get the hot plates back?
My comment is that we explained kind of like the theory behind circuits, but we had to get one-on-one with them for them to realize how it physically happens, like how you can actually connect this on the board to create a short. So we had to make tweaks, so like one thing we could have done is like trying to show them that physical aspect of it, because the second we sent them to the challenge, they're like, oh, I get the concept, but how does this work physically? How do I present this to this?
Most college freshmen don't even understand how to do it.
Yeah, it was too fast. We didn't have nearly enough time to explain short circuits or circuits in general. So they actually thought that the short circuit was the one that went through less wire because it was shorter. And I was like, oh, we should have gone through and explicitly explained that that wasn't the case.
It's interesting. Yes,
Wait,
John.
what did you guys use for your power supply? I was gonna say, did you guys bring a plug in there?
That's crazy. Shayla, what's your thoughts about that? That was one of your design challenges. How could you have improved it?
I think that it might have been cool for them to design the structure of the thing put graphene technically in that design challenge, so that was,
You know, just being honest, would you consider that a success that Monday? Maybe in some categories,
yeah.
not in others. Let's keep moving on for now. Nate, we'll do you next.
All right,
You have to represent Grant. Grant it was his day.
yeah, well, like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, it was really chaotic in the beginning. Normally, we have a lot of kids.
Do you know why we're snarky towards you?
Just when you use Play-Doh, you can color it any color you want. Not freshmen.
Oh, so yeah, I wasn't in charge of making the Play-Doh.
Do you know what was going on in your class? That's why I had to leave.
No.
Because I was cracking up with them.
So they made design challenges. They made searches.
That was just
I see
that
what
was the
you're
example. That was the example.
Everybody in your class was losing it, because Grant was up there, and neither of you picked up
God
on
of this
what.
When we
Goodness.
first were playing with the Play-Doh the Wednesday, it was like white, and I don't know how it got to be. Oh, no. Well, anyway,
Your kids were nuts. I'm gonna cut that out of the, I'm gonna use that as a teaching moment.
I almost looked it up. I've got your video posted. I also asked
well,
Kristen
there
who was
wasn't
on there.
there wasn't any like close-up footage of it, so I don't know what you're gonna cut out. But
Not really cut out, but just like show, like.
okay, well, so that's a grant. I had no part in making the Play-Doh. Anyway, so I did have a part in. So the presentation went well, and eventually we got them to kind of like pay attention. We normally have between 10 and 12 kids, and we were at max capacity. So all our all of our troublemakers were there, and the last couple of weeks we've had at least one trouble, but everyone was there. And it was every which way. But once we did the demonstration so we showed that using the Play-Doh, we showed them like what a short circuit was. So we had the Play-Doh hooked up to an LED and a resistor, and it was on, and then we showed them like crossing it and explained like resistance and stuff like that. So that was cool. That got them to kind of pay attention. They all gathered around the table, and then when they went back to their seats, it was easier to continue on. And a big part was having them build an electromagnet with a nail and some wire. And apparently they had already done that in their science class, so they picked it up really quickly, and we just started quizzing them about electromagnets. Not what we intended to do, but that's where it just evolved. And the design challenge itself was making basically a structure to fish out a paperclip from the bottom of milk. And it was really cool. I liked it. It's an initial step. So this is the first challenge because it was essentially just putting it down through the hole and getting the paperclip out. But it kind of sizzled after that. And we changed it up so that you'd have to make it curved so you can get it in the side. But after that, it's just like, okay, so what do we do next? So that would be something I'd change. Figure out a way to make it a little more challenging or open-ended. Maybe have multiple paper clips that you have to get with just one insert. But it went well. The kids had fun. The kids were really sad when we were talking about that being the last one. Brandon in particular, who's always been kind of rambunctious, but always like overly helpful. So he'd always want to help pass out papers and blah blah blah. If he stayed for an extra 5 minutes, to make sure everything was cleaned up, and he kept asking us like, so when's our next one? And we're like, this is our last one. He's like, well when are you guys coming back? And then it was just like, ugh, so sad. But it was cool to see that we actually made an impact on him. And 2 of the girls came up and hugged us afterwards too.
Even one of them was having a hard time that day.
There was one new girl that we'd never had before, so that was really hard because, yeah, so our normal people were there, and then another one. And it was really hard because everyone else they knew each other, we had a good working relationship, but she was just kind of there. It was really hard to balance. Okay, I'm trying to learn her name now, and keeping everyone else engaged.
We'll talk about that kind of subject later. I want to cover Josh and Molly next.
Okay, so mine was a vastly improved edition of what you guys saw. So we had plastic bins, and I cut 4 holes on each end. We had 2 of those, so we had 2 testing stations. And the only material we used was yarn and tape. And so for the yarn, they could only cut 9-inch pieces, and those were to like represent monomers, and they had to tie them up. And so they had to like loop them through the holes to see how much weight they could hold. And the open-ended part of this design challenge was how they like oriented their strings, or like how many chains they used, or if they cross-linked. So like there's a lot of different ways that they've done it. So like the only bad thing about this design was that I feel like we need more weight, because some of the kids were maxing the weight out pretty fast, and like they like could have put more weight on to like test it further. So that was like the one bad thing. And also the tying was the bottleneck. Like some of the kids had trouble tying strings together. So that was kind of bottleneck of the whole testing process.
Molly?
Yeah, I agree with all of what Josh just said. I think that also having weights that were different sizes, so we had ones that had like a little hook on them, and those hung right on the strings, which made it possible for them to not cross-link it and still make it work. But if we would have had like a 1 pound weight that was kind of like a dumbbell weight sort of thing, I don't know if they make those 1 pound, but there are definitely 2 pound ones in the gym. So we could like use those or whatever, and so that it's flat out so they can have to cross-link it and really understand that a little better.
What would you guys change for the future? Those weights? Anything else?
Maybe figure out a way to do it so that the testing is faster.
Yeah, more exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
I would not break children's toys in the future.
Would you like to recount for the group what happened?
I think that I told it.
I hope it's on camera.
You didn't hear it? Okay, I'll tell it because I think most people have heard it. So, one of the girls that, like, in the past, but basically the first 2 design challenges, didn't really want to do it and wasn't really interested. But then last time I think I talked about it in here, but I said, like, all right, we're going to be on a team, we're going to do this together, and convinced her to try it, and then she really liked it, and she kind of like took off and did really well. And so, I had this like little light thing, you know those things we got at the football game that you wave around? So that was part of my testing station, last week. And she asked to take it home, and I said, okay, you can have it, but you have to work really hard next week and do an awesome job. She's like, okay. So when she came back in this week, she's like, I'm gonna do it, like I'm gonna do an awesome job. So like that was all great. But then for whatever reason, she got out this toy that was like a plastic balloon, but thicker than a balloon, like one of those things you get at the dollar store, and she like blew it up and hid it, so that it was so big that now it couldn't like fit in her backpack or anything. And then she like wasn't playing with it or anything, like she left it over to the side. But other kids kept going over and picking it up and playing with it, and dribbling it around, and yeah. And so one of our students who was not like, he was just really into like dribbling this thing around the room. And so instead of yelling at him, I was like trying to make it kind of a teachable moment. So I was like, because we were doing polymer related things, and obviously that thing was a polymer, so I was like, oh, this will be great, right? Like I was really proud of this idea that I had to go over and be like, what is this material? So I was like, I asked him, what are some properties of this? And he's like, it's strong, it's stretchy. And I was like, yeah, and it's deformable. He's like, yeah. And right as I say deformable, because I'm about to ask him what material it is, I stretch it a little bit and I just pop it.
I was standing right there, and her face was like priceless.
I was there too, actually.
I know you were. I saw you.
walked in when she talked about it.
And I mean, I don't know what face I made, but so then like I turned around and apologized to the student who it belonged to right away. She looked like devastated. Devastated. And she says, my dad gave me that. And I'm like, now I feel worse.
And he passed away a month ago.
No, he didn't say that. But so then I apologized, and and I said like where I asked her, was she got it, and that's when she said my dad gave it to me. And I said, do you know where your dad got it? She said, yeah, he got it from the dollar store. And I was like, well, if I give you $1, will you go? And will you think you'll go with your dad and get another one? She was like, yeah. So I gave her $1. So
She worked you.
so
Probably
So-
5 cents.
So-
Buy 20 of them.
yeah, so and then about 3 minutes later, she came up to me and like from behind me and gave me a hug and was like most teachers would have just told me it was my fault for getting that out during class. So thanks for apologizing. And I was like, okay, so she doesn't hate me. That's
That's awesome. That's a battle.
All right, Roland and Elsa, can you guys share with the group what your design challenge was and how it went on Monday?
Okay, so it was my week this time, so we were kind of dealing with the same idea of getting the pollutant out of water. So we used the same concepts that we did 2 weeks ago, where I had not a box full of tennis balls and stuff, and it all represented things that are normally water. So last time we talked more about drinking water, and this time we're talking more about river water. So I have clay, algae, organic matter, and water, obviously. And essentially what they had to do was I threw a pollutant in there and used it all up, and they had to get out the pollutant, and only the pollutant, without touching any of them with their hands. So they had to create a tool to get it out. And it was really, really successful, and I was really excited about it because it was they all had really different ideas right off the bat. They wanted to work on their own, so they're no, I have this idea, I'm gonna go with it. And one of the girls that's always on, she's on top of things. She was testing every 2 minutes. She was just running back and forth, nope, I can do it, I'm good. And we had, and then we had the opposite end of the spectrum where this person that tested once, I didn't see her for 45 minutes, and then she tested again and got it all good, completely. So it was I don't know, it was really fun. And I think they were all really engaged. We didn't have anyone that was not wanting to do it. We had some new people that jumped right in, and they were engaged and wanting to do it.
Yeah, you got a larger group this time?
We did. We had
Wasn't great.
That's not enough class.
average on 4.
So, anything you would maybe improve for the future?
Definitely the presentation. I got sick for the weekend, so we didn't have any time to really go over the presentation besides the hour and a half before we actually left the camp. So in the end, I just kind of dominated the presentation because I knew what I wanted to get across and when, and I just wanted it to happen.
Yeah, you were a trooper for coming in and saying, I'm glad you did that.
So that's definitely one thing. But I thought our idea for our presentation was perfect. So remember, I don't know if you guys remember, we talked about how I was using water and salt to explain pollutants. They were really interested in that. We had a minor setback during that presentation, but
Did DI water conduct?
no, the opposite. Tap water didn't. It was really silly.
They actually have cleanish.
No, we used bottled water, so it's probably the problem. We should have used tap water.
No, because I tested it, bottled water.
Yeah, when we were at my apartment, we tested it with bottled water, it's fine. But,
Interesting. Alright.
so,
We're looking at continuity. Or what test did you run? Yeah.
yes. Whether it lit up or
Okay, guys, so we just heard about everybody's design challenges, what we did. Somebody asked me, one of the kids asked me if we could come back for a 7th week. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then I was like, I think we've kind of hit our max. How many people would be ready to go Monday to design a new design challenge, show up and run it on Monday.
I'll leave right now.
Yeah.
Goodbye for entire class.
Yeah, but I think we made it. I'm not saying that we did a bad job. I'm just saying that it has been a marathon. It has been an endurance. It has been attrition, you know. So I want to hear from you guys. So you've seen 4 design challenges. Some you've been the primary investigator, some you've been the helper, some you've been like observing like what I've done, what are out there from all the academic papers you might have seen or written, you know, like seen what other people have done. What kind of lessons have you learned from this? And like, let's say you looked at both the design challenges. Which one did better, first or second? And now even the one that you did better, have you learned even more? And could you go back and change that one for the better? Some thoughts? Yes, Joe.
So I think having an open-ended design challenge is really critical in making a difference of whether that student is going to learn anything that day or whether they're just like stuff in their mom out of it. So I think so.
I'm going to pause you for a second. I think you're right, but I'm going to add a little step in between. It's the engagement
Yeah.
that really grabs their attention, and that's when you get a chance to really have them learn or understand something.
Right. Like, I think it's just really, really cool to see students get really creative and kind of just take initiative on their own. Like and it's tough to like strike that balance between having just throwing them in the deep end and then but still letting them have that open-ended design challenge. So I think like if you can get it honed down to that right, balance, then it's it's just like it's awesome. It's really cool thing to see because sometimes it's just saying it's so easy. It's like, oh yeah, it's a design challenge. But like, there's definitely been a difference where some of the design challenges it wasn't as open-ended, like it wasn't as challenging on something.
So open-ended and challenging.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Molly?
I'd like to add, describes your research well to that list of things that it's really hard to balance all three. And then also that teaches something that they can take home. I found like take home and remember. I thought that a lot of the ideas that I thought of that really described my research well, I wasn't able to relate it to them and have them really understand something. But then if I taught them about cell signaling, like, oh, this teaches them about cell signaling really well, but it doesn't really describe my research very well. So balancing those 4 things.
Okay, but describing the research, I really only felt that was like critical for like the advisors who came into, the kids aren't gonna get, oh, that's what they did over the summer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not gonna pick up on that. I think it's more for like the postdocs or.
Okay. So we'll talk about that again.
Okay.
Elsie?
I mean, I know I personally struggled with my research because there was just no way of making it into a design challenge strictly with what I did over the summer. So I had to kind of like reach out into environmental engineering and what we do as environmental engineers and then I had to tie that back into like what I was doing with loosely. So it was like, I feel like some types of research are a lot easier to make a design challenge than others. Like this did. So I
And
kind
we
of
still
like,
struggled at times. It was tough moments. Go
so I
ahead.
kind of agree, like the research is really important, but it can be more detrimental than helpful.
Okay. Roland?
No, I did agree with that part of that.
Well, you'll answer anyways. Go ahead.
No, just that the constraint of having to deal with some research can be, it might have hampered some of the designs that we could have made, I think. Freedom to do anything, you might have seen.
I'll address this now. Give me a second here. when we first started this class, there's a lot of interested parties. There's a lot of consumers, there's a lot of people with goals or things that they want to obtain out of this class, right? So one of them is our researchers that want to have broader impacts. They want the public to be just in some small way more aware of what they're doing. Our partners at KIP aren't as concerned about that. They're looking for their students to have an interesting experience that excites them about engineering. And our kids, you know, what do we want them, you know, do we want them to have every facet of microencapsulation, or even be able to say that word down? Which, by the way, they were able to say that word and explain a lot of concepts about it. So some of the content that they were able to learn was really high-level stuff, pretty impressive for what they were able to do. But there's a greater context that I don't think we've really hammered home, or we haven't talked about in a long time. You know, you guys went through reading different academic papers. You saw different people out there searching for figuring out, trying to become experts on how to do this well. And there was very few, like it took a while to obtain those papers, and some of them were from like 2000. I'm like, what have you done since then? Like, please, like you had like the best paper, keep writing. There is a shortage of people that really know how to do this well and really show the engineering design process with an open-ended design challenge, all the different constraints that we constrain ourselves to, right? Well, it isn't just about your classroom and that small cataclysm, like just that small area where you had influence. Like let's say we created the perfect design challenge that was open-ended and it got everybody engaged, and everybody did like the same one in those classrooms, and you had like this amazing experience where they really learned the engineering design process. Well, that's a great experience. But what about the greater context of engineering education in middle school outreach, where engineering is diverse, like what you guys all brought to the table? You know, now we've got materials from 6 different groups, 4 different design challenges, where we show 12 different disciplines. Some of them were overlaps, but we've got a lot of benefit to having that constraint and that societal impact. Even if it meant that in your own classroom, in your own design challenge, maybe you struggled, because that's the challenge. It was supposed to be a challenge. But think about the greater context where you've got an entire engineering community out there that are like, I have no idea what to do for chemical engineering, and I have no idea what chemical engineering is or what benefit is. We've got a bunch of examples. We have more of a physical